I think maybe the stepfather should just work on establishing respect in the home and showing affection and love towards his wife. And I think things can go on from there. And like a few people were saying, maybe they'll come up with their own like pet name or respectful name towards the stepfather.
The reason why in my particular case is that is her only child. That is my fourth child. I had three children by my ex-wife, and my son is the only child by her. So I would not in proxy take her child from her. We have a good co-parenting situation, and we take care of our child in a proper way.
You got this agreement with your ex-wife too?
What?
You got that agreement with your ex-wife too?
I don't know. My kids are grown. I didn't have to have that agreement. See, when
you're
wait. When you're a certain type of dude, 9 times out of 10, that woman ain't gonna get married to nobody else anyway. So you might not know nothing about that, fam. You don't know nothing about that.
I don't know nothing about
that. The people who have children by me don't have children by anybody else.
Israel, you let them deflect from the topic. Don't Israel. You let them deflect from the topic. Swaney, listen to what you say.
My kids are grown, and my children's mother don't have no children by anybody.
Israel, don't worry, they were deflecting from the topic. Remember what Swaney was saying? If he's just a name, why don't you call him just Mr. Israel? So let's call him Mr. Swaney. That's exactly what you are, Mr. Swaney.
I'm not the one making an argument that it's just a name.
That don't make sense.
I'm not the one making that argument.
Hold on, Swaney. Hold on.
Let me finish. You are the one fighting for the right to be named Dad, not nobody on the panel. You. So if it's just one second. So if it's just a name, you are Mr. Sweeney. And just to finish my point, there's a lot of kids on this planet, on this planet that look at father figures as the coach, the pastor, all that. They don't call the pastor daddy. They don't call the coach daddy. They call Mr. Coach, Mr. Pastor, Mr. whatever. So you chose to be a stepdaddy. That's exactly what you are, Mr. Sweeney.
All right.
Let me
get Chanel now. Hold on, Sweeney. Let me get Chanel in there for a second. Chanel, welcome to the show. There was a video that I played where a man says he preferred to be called dad by the mother that he marries. You expect the kids to call him dad. What are your thoughts? I know you heard a little bit of the dialogue. Chime in, please.
That sounds a little odd to expect that from, especially if they're not really young, if they're like 8, 9, 10 and things are already established in their mind. I think that sounds a little strange to expect that from the children. I think maybe the stepfather should just work on establishing respect in the home and showing affection and love towards his wife. And I think things can go on from there. And like a few people were saying, maybe they'll come up with their own like pet name or respectful name towards the stepfather. But for that stepfather to expect to be called dad, I think it's a little strange. And I mean, what is he trying to gain from this? I mean, he could have his own children with his wife or something like that and get that from his children. He doesn't have to kind of commandeer someone else's children to have that feeling. So I don't know. That's my thought.
Only really honestly, if me and Sweeney seem to be one of the only step parents up in here. So let's have the conversation, Sweeney. I've been in my child life since he was 2 years old. Okay. You see, I said my child because I raised a kid every day. All right. I'm one of like the primary custodial parents. All right. Literally every day, my husband has full custody. So I have an attachment to him, right? But that does not mean that he has to call me mom when he has a mom, right? I'm a stepmom. There's a reason for that. I came in and I stepped in, but I'm not taking away from his mother that's on the birth certificate. I don't have those type of rights to him at all, unless I adopted the child. All right, I didn't adopt him. So literally, I really don't have much rights unless my husband, put it in some space where I could, it's legal. If not, if the other parent is still living, that person has all rights. So I still literally, I remember there was a time where the kid was in first grade. They're still asking me, where's the biological mother at? And I'm like, Why does that matter? I had to show all of these documents. I'm here. I'm the step parent. No, they still wanted to go see the biological parent, regardless of whatever was going on. So in reality, it is what it is. I am still a step parent. When it comes to the birth certificate, regarding to your question, a child is not going to call you by your first name when you are literally their mother, right? Or their father. That's the birthright to the child. So that makes no sense, that question. All right. You're not going to have your own child call you by your first name because your name is damn father, daddy, or whatever.
The reason why I asked that question wasn't because Israel and Fatty tried to diminish what it was to be. It's just when I said diminished. When they said, "Oh, it's nothing but a name," why does it matter? And that's why I asked the question. If it's just a name, then your kid should be able to call you Mr. Mills or Mr. Fatty. There'd be no problem. Not saying that that's something that they would do or anything. But if your kid woke up one day and said, "Hey, look, I want to call you Mr. Mills," would you then be like, "Oh no"? Would you be like, "Oh, okay, cool, son"? Or would you be like, "No, I'm your dad. Call me daddy"? The thing is, I'm not here to sit here and convince y'all otherwise. I got the situation that I'm in. There's a lot of different opinions on this. There's really no wrong answer. I think he has just as much an argument to say, "Hey, look, I command." That's a form of respect to him, just like it'd be a form of respect to a lot of people. When it came to my daughter, she actually was calling me. I didn't like her calling me by my first name, so it started with a nickname. And then because my son was born, she adopted calling me daddy because he called me daddy. I've been in my daughter's life since she was 9 months old. So so the thing is that I get it. But I think honestly, this is a product of a lot of us either one, not having stepfathers in our lives, maybe since we were young, or also that we tend to have this conversation from a perspective of us being old enough to recognize other things going on around us. Because I mean, let's keep it real. A lot of us wouldn't rock with that if it was the real case. The same ego that makes you feel like you don't want nobody else to be in your house is the same ego you'll have if you was a step parent. And I guarantee you that same ego is the same ego that guy has. The only difference is he's on the other side of the spectrum.
Wait, but your assumption, you're making a lot of assumptions. So first of all, as a grown behind man, I have been in situations where I've been with women who had children and who wanted to get married. At no point did I ever require or expect that their children would call me daddy. Like at no point would I require or expect that. Hold on. No, I didn't. But of course, there were situations where that was on the table. And at no point was the expectation for those children to call me daddy or to say that I'm their daddy, especially if their dad was alive. That's kind of ridiculous.
So but the thing is that if it didn't end with marriage, and how old were the kids?
They were like 7 and 9.
Different story. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's a different story.
What? So
it's gonna be the same.
That's a different story.
No, it's not.
Do they call you daddy in front of their real dad?
Who?
Your kids.
Your kids.
My kids. My daughter doesn't know her real dad.
So, but that's the thing. He's completely removed from the life.
Right.
Remember,
if
he's completely gone, there's a different conversation. Like Real Precious said, I had several, but because the real dad and mother weren't there. So that's a different story. But for the regular kid that knows his dad is out there and he sees him once a month and all that, there's a tremendous sign of disrespect. Because again, the dad exists. On your case, actually, I understand. Actually,
on your case, if that was the case, though, my kid would have still called me Pops or something along those lines. It wouldn't have been my name or Sir or any of that. It would have been the title that I am. Which is,
I think age definitely plays a huge factor in that because, like you say, you had your son and your son called you dad. Therefore, your daughter adopted that.
Yeah, my daughter was only 2.5 years old. My son was born.
If your children were old, if your daughter was older, and then you had your son later, let's just say she was about 9 or 10, and you said call me dad, and you came in her life around that time, not when she's younger, but when you came in her, and you said call me dad, she is going to have to adjust to that. So it's not even going to be an automatic. Okay, I'll just call him dad. It's like, no, I had a life before this man.
I had a dad.
I had a dad, or I trusted somebody else to be my father figure. So like I said, you have to build that trust. You can't just tell a child to call you mom or dad if you haven't built or cultivated a relationship with them.